Yo, what is up, Raider Nation? Top of the morning, man. We are here live, deprived, and whatnot. But hey, it was a busy weekend this past weekend. The NFL Combine has come and gone. We got to see some standouts, some people rising and falling. We got to see our quarterback Fernando Mendoza over there having a standing ovation, as well as a lot of other things going on. Today is going to be a special video because we're going to be having basically a mock offseason, how we would run the offseason if we were in the GM's shoes. Me and my co-host Joe will be going over some moves, some cuts, some re-signings, some trades, our mock draft post-combine edition. So stay tuned for that. We got even more Maxx Crosby news today. I mean, until it happens or until no trade gets done, then there's always going to be some talk out there. But for sure, man, shout out to the chat today. I see Trey B up in here. I see Kilt Raider, Jose Espinoza, Knock Andrew, Raider Resistance up in the building. Let's go. Dominique, we got U16 and Shango, baby. But without further ado, I got to bring on the honorary Oos, my Oos, Raider fans. Please welcome
Raider
Joe
fans.
Morley, Oos.
Raider fans, it's
Raider
Monday.
fans.
Hey, we are a week away from free agency tampering period.
Oh, the new
all
league
that starting. The good part of the NFL offseason. And of course, we've already seen it. Like, this is the week that teams start making their moves to get under their salary cap. You already seen the Texans made 2 trades today.
I know.
It's going.
It's moving, and it's funny that you say that. Next week is a big week, right? Because it's the NFL free agency tampering period. We get to see who the Raiders don't get, because we always say the Raiders should get this guy, that guy, the top names, and sometimes we do, and most times we don't. But I think that this season, no matter what happens, I'm excited, dudes. I'm excited. I almost forgot that free agency was next week, but a lot of things are going to start happening, and especially after the combine, a lot of people, we heard a lot of GMs, a lot of owners talking with each other, coaches. There's been a lot of rumors going around, and of course, we're going to talk about a lot of the main ones, including our star pass rusher, CTE award winner, Maxwell Crosby. We'll talk about him in just a little bit as well, but there's a lot going on. But first and foremost, like we always do, is how you doing on this Monday morning? How was your weekend, and how you feeling?
It was a good weekend. Good weekends. Saw some WWE stuff. Just did some stuff around the house. Just, laid back. Watch the combine. Like, anytime you can watch the underwear Olympics, I think that's a good thing.
Oh man. And just seeing that, out there too, man. Come on.
I don't know how much of this is what I didn't get. Like, I don't know how much of the combine you watch, but how come all the media guys, how come everybody left before the offensive linemen? Like, the last day was the offensive linemen, the big guys.
Yeah.
The people that run this league, basically, right? They're always overlooked. Everybody's gone. It's like more people showed up for the quarterback, and a lot of people showed up to watch Fernando Mendoza, even though he already said he'll be at the draft, but he was not going to participate. And then, like, people showed up to see him do drills, but not knowing that
that he's not going to be doing.
That he was not going to be doing that. Like, I didn't get that, but I was kind of upset to see how many. Somebody actually took a picture of it and posted it, and it was like maybe 10 media people left in the media room, for the offensive lineman. That's how sad it was.
No, I know. I mean, I guess it's not the most sexiest position, right, for people to sit back and look at, but they are one of the most important. And being a Raider fan, we know how important it is to have offensive linemen. It's not as important until your team actually needs it, right? And I think after watching last year, we definitely needed it. But speaking of the NFL Combine and speaking of Fernando Mendoza, I shout out to the chat, shout out to everybody out there. I want to quickly apologize. We didn't do a show on Friday. That was on me. But hey, so we didn't really get to talk about when Fernando got to go up and speak. Was it Friday that he spoke? Oh, it was Thursday. It was Thursday that he spoke, but we didn't get to talk about it on Friday. That's what happened. But I wanted to talk about Fernando Mendoza. We already knew going into the NFL Combine that he wasn't going to throw over there or be a part of any drills, but he was going to be there for the interviews and for the measurements and whatnot, which I think is important. And he stated that the main reasoning behind that was because he wanted to go and he wanted to go into his pro day doing the drills with the players that he's familiar with while also highlighting them, because if you notice this past weekend, it was a lot of Indiana players got highlighted, especially for Raider fans. We know there's going to be a lot of them, but everybody wants to know about Fernando, playing with Fernando, and just knowing, being in that Indiana offense or defense. A lot of those top guys are going to get even more looked at when we go into the pro day for Indiana. So with that being said, because I talked my head off about the Fernando thing uh on my regular video, but it was really good to finally hear from him and address the media, and also know that the Raiders finally got to chat with him, right? So I want to
Well,
get on Fernando's.
I saw that post you put that being Fernando's PR guy
Yeah,
is easy. I 100% agree with you. Like no, like he hasn't said one bad thing in like this whole year to make people question. And even when you thought like he almost gave it away, like that the Raiders were going to draft him at number
yeah,
one, he was like maybe, or like he changed the word up and was like, if I'm fortunate enough and stuff like that. It's like it's crazy. Like even a Jets fan like yelled at him like, I wish you would come to the Jets, and he was like, well, we'll see what happens. Like
yeah,
he doesn't even put like Ederson. He keeps every option open. He says what he needs to say,
yeah.
and it's just like a happy-go-lucky guy, and it's cool, and it's good to see. And I mean, a player that doesn't need PR, that's nuts.
I mean, it is crazy because I know that he always says that, like, right, but I'm like, bro, you go into one team, man, but anything can happen, which you got to be safe with it. I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. We can Raider, so maybe we say, oh, we love Arvell Reese a little bit more, and we just draft him out of nowhere. We trade back, so like with all the hype and stuff, I think we would be mad if he didn't come over here. But I do love the fact that he's able to hold up for himself. Now, I don't know if the same thing can happen to him, or the same thing will happen to him once he comes to Las Vegas. Maybe it'll change him a little bit. I don't know. But, as far as right now, that's why I say, his PR team really don't have to worry about it. Compared to other guys like, Mekhi Lemon, who was over there just taking his stock. 'Cause I know you're a big fan of Mekhi Lemon. I think he's a great talent as well. But seeing and hearing a lot of things that's been going on at the combine, a lot of people saying that his stock might fall, and I hope it does. I really
Well,
hope that it does to the second round, because that'd be nice.
dude, yeah, he gave me Jalen Ramsey like vibes. I don't know if you remember that interview where Jalen Ramsey was in the locker room talking crap, and he was like, come at me, and that's what Lemon gave me. He gave me those vibes like, hey, I'm a competitor. Like, but I mean, same thing with who was the other one? My guy Ruben Bain. They said he got alligator arms, dude.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no, I don't want him no more, bro.
I don't know, but if I told you the last five people that had alligator arms, you'd be like, okay, I want them. Like, I just think there's going to be a time where top players are going to stop going to the NFL Combine because it only hurts them. It helps
Yeah,
the guys on the bottom end when they get there,
yeah,
but like Ruben Bain, like if he didn't go there, he would still be a top guy. And
yeah,
now you're gonna drop him a couple spots because his arm length. Even though you just watched him dominate Indiana's offensive line, like uh, I don't know. And then my favorite, one of my favorite, I would say is my second favorite wide receiver in this draft is Casey Concepcion, and is getting made fun of because he has a speech impediment. I have one too, and I think it shit. Cody Rhodes, some of the greatest people have are out there with it, and I don't know if you saw that, but they were making fun of his interview. It's like you're. This is what I hate about the NFL draft, and this is what I've always talked about. It like the closer we get to the NFL draft, the stupider the things that they make players drop for. Like,
that is true.
oh, his fingernail was 2 inches longer than it should have been, or what? I don't know. And they drop him. Hands. Remember, hand size is always a big thing that people talk about.
Hand size,
It's
yep.
but then you'll take a guy who wasn't good on the field, but he had great measurements and great speed at the combine, and we'll blow that up, and we'll draft him 2 rounds before he should be
Yeah,
drafted. So it's I don't know. The combine should is only a thing to get fans. It should only be a thing to get fans hooked up and maybe the interview process get us excited about football. But NFL scouts should be going back to the tape and watching what happens on the field. when they draft these guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. It is kind of crazy, and that's why we were talking about the fact that like Fernando, it would do more harm for him than good if he was to go and throw, because like if he went out there and like say three throws were like hella off, right, or just overthrown, I was like, oh shoot, see, we've been saying that his accuracy's not there or his long ball's not there, and wanting him to take. I mean, bruh, even Fernando Mendoza said himself that there was one person that told him that he should get arrested so he could drop down in the draft, right? And I kept saying, like, bro, that ain't gonna stop the Raiders from getting him. You think getting arrested? You think getting arrested is gonna make us get scared of him? Nah. We welcome you with open arms if you get arrested, dudes. But
People be like, "Hey, he's just like me. He's just like me."
Hey, he a Raider. He a Raider. No, yeah, but that was kind of crazy. But hearing that kind of goes to show that there are some teams out there that would want to leak some stuff just for people to fall in the draft. And it actually works for certain people. Laramie Tunsil, I still remember that situation. He was like a top 5 pick or something like that, right? But he dropped a couple of spots and he ended up going to the Houston Texans. Or no, Dolphins. It was the Dolphins, yeah. He went to the Dolphins, but he would have never slid if that one video, that old video, never came out, a day before the NFL draft, which is crazy.
Like the morning of.
Huh?
It was like the morning of the draft.
Morning, yeah. I remember it was like not too long before, and I was like, damn. But like, yeah, it's a lot of small things, but you never know. Some of these teams would go to lengths just to hope that one of these guys fall. And I feel like just hearing that from Fernando is like, okay, I know there's teams out there. There's a lot of teams out there which would really like him, and I know that there's teams that are interested in that number 1 overall pick, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg, but I think the Raiders are holding on to that pick at this point, unless something crazy comes along, which I don't think will. But I guess coming back to Fernando Mendoza, like, I don't know, did I ask you or not? But I know we kind of got sidetracked on that. But what was your thoughts on his whole like press and whatnot, and his interview with the team, and just addressing the media?
No, it's good, and even I think Mitchell Rentz even asked him a good question about like, what if the Raiders don't take you? Like, how would it feel if teams pass on you? What would you think of them? And I forget his complete answer, but it was an actually really good answer for it. And like I said, seeing him out there stretching and doing his things with the teammates is good. We will see him throw this offseason before the draft. It's going to be April 1st at his pro day, because he said he is going to throw for his teammates. He's going to work out with his teammates at Indiana, so that works out. But I just thought, I mean, there was, unless Fernando came out there and was like gangster and started yelling and screaming and cussing it up, there was nothing he was going to do to change it up. And even if he did that, like, it's very hard to change up what Fernando has done. So I mean, I don't know if you saw pictures of his podium. Like, he was surrounded by everybody at the combine. Everybody who went there to report wanted Fernando Mendoza.
No, definitely. I mean, we want him too. So I love from what I heard from him and him just addressing the media. I love the fact that he kind of talked highly of his meeting with the Raiders, and I think the Raiders kind of tested him as well with his ball knowledge and whatnot, with how he would run the offense and the type of person that he is. And he said that coaching staff, even Clint Kubiak, they're very smart, savvy football minds, and he at least got to say hi to Tom Brady for what we heard from him. Like, that's somebody that he looks up to. So that's huge. And he got crazy thing is that he didn't get to throw, but from all the videos and all the clips that we've seen at the NFL Combine, when he walked out there on the field to see his players, he got a standing ovation. And I mean, Lord only knows how big that standing ovation is going to be when he finally, runs out that tunnel at Allegiant Stadium as our quarterback, man. It makes me excited, Oos.
And he even walked into a restaurant, and I don't know if you heard that story. He walked into a restaurant for dinner, and the whole waiting staff and everybody started clapping for him because Indiana loves him. Indiana loves him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know. Hey, Indianapolis Coast, if you guys want him, man. No, I'm joking.
I mean, if you saw the other quarterbacks work out, I think they did good for themselves, and it was good that Fernando wasn't there. I think for the other quarterbacks, they could showcase themselves, and not everybody was zoned in on one guy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think it was a good combine for Drew Aller and I just want to say Drew Aller because I want to put him out there that people actually got to see how good he really is after that bad injury.
Yeah. I know. And he's a guy that went back. He's a guy that went back to college, and it didn't really help him out. But these like stuff like this, the combine should be helping guys like him out. But yeah, shout out to Chad up in here, man. I see Michael Velli up in here. I see It's Ray. Let's go. We see the Mark Bates up in here. Big Raider Rob. He said Washington will be second running back off the board after a little. Okay, Mike Washington. Okay. Jesus says that Fernando starts to dating a Kardashian. Would that drop his stock? Maybe. I don't think so. I think it would only help his stock out. Um, but speaking of the NFL Combine news, and while we're on this, I wanted to ask you what if I was to give you five standouts at the combine that really caught your eye. Who are those guys?
Well, I don't. I've told you this before, and my favorite my favorite wide receiver in the draft is Skylar Bell from UConn, and I think he showed up yesterday or during the combine, and he balled out, and just his gauntlet alone showed everybody how good he's going to be in his route running. Mike Washington was on my list, or somebody already mentioned him. I don't know if the Raiders will be able to get him, but uh, I think he maybe solidified himself as the second best running back in this draft. Marone Freely, somebody that I've had us mocking in the second round a couple times, the offensive tackle. I think he had an amazing combine where I don't think he'll be there in the second round anymore. Defensive line, Grace Halton, I think he showed that he has great motor and great skills that he can move around. And cornerback Tacario Davis is my other one, which I don't think he is going to be. I think he'll still go third roundish around there, but he moved himself up pretty much well on day from a day three to probably a day two guy out there. So those are my top five standouts. Of course, some of the other guys like that were already at the top, like people will say Caleb Banks and all that. Yeah, of course, those guys are already superstars. Like I didn't like I had an argument with Josh, and like he was like, "Well, Caleb Banks raised his draft stock," and I go, "He was already a top 15 prospect. Like
Yeah,
you, you're not. I'm not considering that like raising it." Sony Styles had a great
yeah.
combine.
Now he's gonna be a
Like,
first round pick.
yeah, it's like he was already in the top 10, 15 conversation. Like, yes, he might go number two now, and if the Raiders weren't drafting Fernando Mendoza, Sony Styles would be in the talk for number one overall pick. But
You
it's
think
like
so? That high?
it's because of his not only Sony Styles is not only it's his height and his speed and everything that goes along with them, and the position that now that
Yeah,
linebackers are becoming something in the NFL. It's like there's so much with them, but
yeah,
um, yeah, those. I mean, some of those guys that I mentioned, people might not know, but I try not to go with the big names that everybody's going to talk
yeah.
about. Why? Because why? I'm going to turn on every program and I'm going to listen to the same shit over and over. No, I'm
No,
going to give you different names.
yeah, I like that, and I could say the same thing too. Like, because I remember when you kind of gave me your list, I was like, okay, like I know he's going with players that not a lot of people know about, or at least people that their stock it means something for the combine, right? Of course, like Sonny Styles is a name that really stood out to a lot of people, but he was already going to be a top pick, but he just solidified what he was able to do. Kenan Sadiq, crazy, him and Eli Storrs, like tight ends that was going out there and just tearing it up. Who's like those are guys that we know the Raiders aren't going to be like Stowers. Stowers is like a later pick though, right? Is he considered like first or second round pick, or is he more like mid round?
I would say more mid round.
Yeah, so that I mean that
But I
that's
think I think he might have like
he
because
might
there's
have.
Sadiq and then there's everybody else after that,
Yeah,
and so they're all fighting for that. And I mean, for tight ends to go first round, anyways, you have to be very elite.
yeah, you got to be Brock Bowers, and they said Sadiq is basically a Brock Bowers that is just faster. I'm just joking,
Yeah,
but
and for those of the, if you guys don't know, the last guy I mentioned was Tacario Davis. He's a cornerback from Washington. He's 6'4". He's a great outside zone cornerback. And I think what did he run, a 4.4, something like that. That's somebody that, I mean, just his big frame alone and what he can do in man coverage or in like that zone coverage is what I like about him. So
Yeah.
that's somebody that if you guys haven't looked him up, go check him out. That's like
No,
his
I've always seen him in the mock
uh,
drafts. Yeah.
pause, but I'll say it pause before I say it. But his ball skills and the way he reads the ball in the air is fantastic,
Oh man.
fantastic.
Hey. Well, that's a solid list, and I like that. Like for me, I just looked at a couple of players that like some of my favorite players that really stood out as well, and some names that I've seen a lot, and a lot of names that I mocked a lot later in the rounds, and I really wanted to look at them and see how they panned out, and of course, my one of my favorites is Zane Duran. That's somebody that I always get in like the mid rounds for the defensive line, defensive tackle position. I know he's a little bit undersized, but seeing it, seeing his tape, his highlights and stuff like that, this dude has a motor, and he showed out there that he's athletic. And definitely somebody I would love to have on this team, on this defensive line. Another two names that I think really shot up the draft a little bit more. One Omar Cooper, one of the Indiana wide receivers. Of course, everybody's gonna look at Elijah Surratt, but Omar was definitely an underrated name that I've done mocks too. Like he was mocked around a third, maybe a fourth round pick, but now there's talks to where he could go in the second round with how well he performed at the combine. Jacoby Lane, that's somebody that is on your list that you like, from USC, who had I would say didn't really perform as well as I thought he would at the Senior Bowl, but he really went out there at the combine and showed out, and could be a viable target for the Raiders if they want to wait in the draft. D'Angelo Pons, another Indiana prospect that really I would say shot his way up the draft boards as well for even being undersized and going out there and jumping that vertical, crazy. Jake Golday, linebacker, somebody that I didn't know too much about, but just seeing his combine really stood out to me. So those are just a couple of names that I had on my board that I really liked at the NFL Combine, and that's why you like the Combine, because you get to look at these players and see whether it's somebody that you would want to have on the team or not. But speaking of somebody that you might want to have on the team or not, Gino Smith, is getting love from around the league. There's teams,
Mhm.
multiple teams that are interested, and the Cardinals are one of those teams. And reports came out yesterday, or I think the day before, I don't know which day, but multiple teams have the opinion that Gino Smith was held back by the Raiders' offensive system last season and are eager to see him released. That's crazy. But hearing that, there's a lot of teams really looking forward to bring in Geno Smith, and that goes back to the thing that I've been saying a lot. I mean, we've been talking about that Geno Smith. As much as we don't like him as a Raider, and as bad as he was as a Raider, I don't think that he was such a bad quarterback, because I think he was just put into a shitty situation that was hard to come out of, with whether it was play calling with the offense coordinator or the offensive line, or no separation from the wide receivers that we did have. Not saying that he was perfect, because he did make a lot of mistakes out there, but I think that he's more than viable quarterback for any other team that at least has some pieces around them. And knowing that the Cardinals could be interested in him, and maybe there are teams that are eager out there, there might be a team that might pull the trigger, and at least we could get a 6 or 7 round pick out of him, which I don't think would be out of the realm of possibility. What are your thoughts on Geno Smith?
Yeah, they said multiple teams, and exactly what we've been talking about for a while now. You and I have always said this, and people were like, "No, he's cut." And your boy Evan Sidley, everybody wanted to believe him, and he was getting cut the first day, and I was like, "Who the fuck is Evan? Like, why are we believing him?" Because there is, like I said, Geno's cap number isn't horrible. Like, it's 26 million for a team that wants him, when Malik Willis is getting 35, 40 million as the top quarterback on the market that you might miss out on. I think the Raiders have done a very good job at talking Geno Smith up and not saying, "Hey, we're going to cut him." Like they said, "Hey, we want to talk to Geno. We want to see what he's about. Get to, watch more film on him, and maybe because the Raiders know that there might be, and I don't know if it's going to happen, but there's that slight possibility that one of these teams will just give up a seventh round pick, or just swap picks, a fifth for a sixth, or a seventh for a sixth, whatever, and get Geno Smith off the Raiders' books, and that would free up $18 more million for the Raiders, than if they released him. So I'm thinking the Raiders hold out a little bit of hope on Geno Smith, and I don't even know if they cut him the first day of the league year because I don't think they have to until like the third day or something like that. But if a team goes into I think next Sunday and they try to get Malik Willis or they try to talk to one of these other free agent quarterbacks and it's not working out for them, they're going to turn to try to make a deal for somebody. And I know Raider fans, we hate Geno Smith. We think Geno Smith is garbage and we think nobody is going to pay for him. But I'm sorry to say, he started 14 games last year, and it's hard to find NFL starting quarterbacks on the market. And if you can get a guy like Geno Smith cheap, Pittsburgh Steelers, if they missed out on Aaron Rodgers again because he doesn't want to come back, Miami's trying to do whatever they can do with Tua, and they're going to not have a lot of money because Tua's taking all that up. Arizona with the new head coach, more than likely trying to go younger. If they miss out on Malik Willis, he's there. There's other teams out there. Hell, Minnesota Vikings might even take a shot on Geno Smith. Like it's not a horrible contract. $26 million for a quarterback isn't bad. Anyways, I think Samoan walked away for a second, but I'll go to the chat right here. If we can deal Geno, and I don't know if it would be worth it. But I saw somebody talking about fullbacks. Yes, Clint Kubiak did talk about the Raiders going and getting a fullback this year. So yes, that does move a couple of the tight end / fullback hybrid players up in the draft. So yeah, I saw you guys chat in there. I don't know GM shit. No way Geno is on this team. I'm not saying that Geno's on the team. I'm saying that somebody might take Geno's contract, and you've seen bad contracts get traded before when people don't want it. So I mean, shit. I get considered very. I get people say that I'm very negative, and this guy, whoever this is very negative. But you never know what's going to happen in the NFL, especially with the way that people are talking about Geno at the combine. That they're not just blaming Geno for the poor play. And if you look at the grades of the player grades of what came out, there's only one team that got an F for offensive coordinator last year, and that's the Las Vegas Raiders. So everybody is putting the blame on Chip Kelly. They're putting the blame on Pete Carroll. They're putting the blame on the offensive line. They're putting the blame on not having star wide receivers, not having anything, and taking a little bit away from Geno Smith, even though Geno's like, blame it all on me. Because what you saw from Geno in Seattle the previous 3 years before he got to Las Vegas was a viable starter, was a viable bridge quarterback to whatever you need to. And a lot of teams need quarterbacks this year. And a lot of teams won't be able to fill that quarterback hole because of a lack of quarterbacks in the draft and of lack of quarterbacks in free agency. And they have to get to next year's draft, which is supposedly loaded with 7 to 8 young quarterbacks out there. So I'm not saying that they trade for Geno Smith. I'm just saying the Raiders are holding out hope that somebody gets desperate and gives up that last pick for him. And it would benefit the Raiders tremendously. But at the end of the day, do I like you'll see later we do our little mock GM thing. I actually have the Raiders releasing him, but
Yeah.
so just says also we can hold on to him and boost his trade stock if he plays a little better in the Kubiak system. Ship him off. Yeah, I understand that. Like, but then if you hold on to Geno past the third day of the year, you're paying him the whole 26 million, which again, I wouldn't be pissed off if they paid Geno $26 million and held him as a backup, like because you're gonna have to pay a backup anyways. You're gonna pay Geno 18 million anyways.
Yeah.
And you're gonna if you go and get a backup quarterback like Kirk Cousins or something like that, you're gonna pay him a good amount of money anyway. So what's the difference? What's the $8 million more? But it is I don't know. There is a possibility that he could be here, but I don't. I think if the Raiders can't find a trade partner by the time his contract is guaranteed, I think he's gone. But I think they're going to hold out hope as long as they can.
Yeah, definitely. There's like I said, there could be a chance where there's a team that would take him on, especially if they want him as a bridge quarterback or veteran quarterback. But I don't think it's out the realm of possibility for him. I know a lot of fans will say that he's not good. Why would anybody want to trade for him? But there's teams that value him a little bit more than what we seen last year. Um, speaking of speaking of that, real quick, I wanted to go over the Raiders coaching staff, who's or
Oh
just
yeah,
I just wanted to go. Well, we kind of know the coaching staff, right? Clint Kubiak is the head coach. We got Andrew Janoko, offense coordinator. Rob Leonard, defense coordinator. We got Joe DeCamillis as a special teams coordinator. Assistant head coach Mike McCoy. Uh, Coaching operations Matt Capuro. Who else is out here? We got our wide receivers coach Zach Azani, Pete Collins, Rick Dennison as the offensive line coach. Pass game coordinator. We just recently hired Nick Holes, Mario Jabero as the offensive run game coordinator, and then we got there's a lot of names, a lot of different names over here. Defensive side of the ball, Kenyon Jackson as the defensive line coach, uh, assistant defensive line. I mean, Drew Gaither, Cody Grimm, Al Holcomb, Steve Ferentz. Man, there's a lot of coaches. It was Travis Smith, defensive line safeties, Matt Robinson, Kettner Cup as the defensive quality control coach. Linebackers coach is Ronell Williams, Joe Woods as the pass game coordinator, defensive backs, and Tim McConnell as the assistant special teams, and senior assistant special teams is Marquise Williams. So after naming all of those, I don't know if there's any that stand out to you, but after reading that, one position coach that wasn't named was a quarterbacks coach. Are you worried about that, or do you think that they'll still bring somebody on, or do we even need a quarterbacks coach?
no, I think once they finalized that list, they were like, okay, this is our coaching staff. I know they probably talked to a lot of people and maybe try to find it, but they really need a quarterback coach in
Yeah,
name? No, because Clint Kubiak's going to be calling the plays. He's going to be right there with Mendoza. Andrew Njoku has done that. He was with that. He had that
yeah,
position last year. He's going to be working with the quarterback. Like Mike McCoy is going to be right there with them. So they don't have it by name, but it's going to be like a committee of like you're going to be working like right there with the head coach. So it doesn't matter.
you're basically like you got two quarterbacks coached basically, and two of the best. Shout out to Maus, Knight of the Shield for the 1999, man. Just wanted to show some support. Love what you guys are doing. I'm enjoying these every morning. Keep it up, Us, man. I appreciate it, Knight, man. You definitely one of the OGs, and I appreciate you always coming in here and even just hitting the chat here and there. But definitely, like I said, Us, I'm gonna keep up with that. I'm gonna keep up with you though. And one of these shows we got to get you on and just get your thoughts on everything. We're gonna start bringing on guests a little bit here and there. We just wanted to kind of get the ball rolling. But yeah, shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody that continues to join the show. But I appreciate that though. Let's go. And now going on from that, Casanova says, just locked on Raiders. Q Myers, Lincoln Kennedy. We talked about the Raiders looking for a fullback. Yeah, definitely fullback's going to be a position, especially now that we heard from at the combine with what Clint Kubiak had to say, and I think that's interesting, and I like that, having a fullback and also having a two-headed monster in the backfield at the running back position. And I know that Gino could be cut, but I'm just saying that there is a possibility that there might be a team out there that could trade for him just to jump ahead of the curve, especially if you're just giving up a sixth or seventh round pick and nothing much if you to already get the guy that you want. Number seven, baby. Uh,
Do it.
quick
That's a
question.
boy. No.
Yes, a quick question on that since we're talking about Geno Smith possibly getting released. According to Ian Rappaport, the Cardinals are set to release quarterback Kyler Murray, barring a last minute trade. He will have plenty of suitors in free agency. Is he a quarterback that you would want to bring in?
Kyler Murray? No. Nope. Nope.
No.
For what? Like it wouldn't help us. I'm all about if you are serious about drafting Fernando Mendoza, which the Raiders should be,
Yeah.
you're not bringing anybody in that's going to be a distraction away from Fernando Mendoza. You're bringing in somebody that because you got to remember a lot of Raider fans, or a lot of a lot of Raider fans love Fernando Mendoza and want Fernando Mendoza, but then there's also that other half that don't believe in him, or they see the name, they don't watch, they're not hardcore football fans, they only tune in, during football season, and they see the name Kyler Murray and they go, oh, he's a badass quarterback, and they're just going to root for him. And anytime Fernando makes a mistake and he's learning on the field, what are they going to root for? They're going to root for that backup quarterback, and they're going to try to bring him in. So if you can limit the distractions and you don't bring in the high profile backup quarterback, you bring in somebody that it knows how to get the job done correctly, but is not going to really challenge Mendoza for the job, and take away the spotlight. I think that's what you got to do. So I
No,
did find this. I forgot where I was looking for it right now.
I forgot about that. I blame Gino for 2016 cars broken. Come on now. Come on, it's his fault, dude. But I blame him for having the number one pick. So you know what? Shout out to Gino. For me, like I don't think it'd be possible for the Raiders to get him, Kyler Murray, unless he wanted to be a backup or unless he wanted to be the bridge quarterback for us. And if there's a guy that knows what it takes to be the number one overall quarterback drafted, it's Kyler Murray, right? So maybe he could teach Fernando a thing or two about that. But yeah, I highly doubt it. I don't think that the Raiders will do it. There's going to be a lot of other teams, like Ian said, that are going to be really interested in Kyler Murray and his services.
The only way Kyler comes to Vegas is if he's playing for the A's.
Oh, that's true. That is true. He got drafted to the A's, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
That's great. Could he still play? Could he still play or no?
Yeah, I'm not sure if the A's still own his rights, but yeah, he can still play. Baseball.
So when they draft guys when they draft somebody like Kyler Murray, it's just to have his rights, right? Or
yeah, it was same thing in baseball and football. Like if we were to draft somebody in the draft and they don't sign with us, the Raiders will own their rights until the next draft. That's how the Bo Jackson. It was like Bo Jackson. That's how Bo Jackson happened. He was drafted by who? Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Tampa. He didn't want to play there. Yeah,
he didn't want to play there, and then the Raiders drafted him the next year, something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I forgot all about that. But yeah, I thought I asked that question, but I highly doubt that that'd be possible. But speaking of a lot of moving pieces,
if Arizona wants the number one overall pick next year, trade for Gino Smith. What's up?
Oh, hey, Gino will definitely give you that. Definitely will give you that.
My bad. Let's move on. I know the Gino Smith talk is kind of boring because we have the Fernando, but he's still on the team, and that's what I don't get why people don't like the conversation. That's what this is. It's a conversation about the team. Like you're gonna have these conversations until people aren't on the team or they're traded or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's part of the conversation.
No, definitely. And like I said, if he didn't flip off the fans, I think it'd be an easier answer to say just keep him. But I feel like with everything that he did outside of playing on the field, kind of made it seem like the Raiders should move on to a different situation. And speaking of somebody that we've been talking about with different situations over and over again for the past couple of weeks, Maxx Crosby. And I know everybody's going to continue to say we're tired of hearing about it, but we got to talk about it. And like you said, we do ourselves a disservice if we don't talk about a lot of things that go on, especially when it comes down to Maxx Crosby, whether we believe that he's going to get traded or not. It keeps going back and forth. Now, yesterday or the day before, I forgot what day it was. My days are all over the place.
Yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Okay, yesterday, Jeremy Fowler stated that despite all the trade rumors, star Maxx Crosby does not plan on requesting a trade from the Raiders. He quoted that it's somewhat quiet on Maxx Crosby's front. This is a layered discussion because a team source said a few weeks ago that Crosby's chances of returning were relatively small, but he doesn't plan to request a trade. He's tight with Raiders owner Mark Davis, and he probably wouldn't garner a Micah Parsons like trade package. He also continued to say that he wants to win, which might not be in the cards for Las Vegas in 2026. Some teams I've spoken to believe that he will remain with the Raiders for now. Why would you trade him? Or why would you? Okay, yeah. But, with that being said, a lot of GMs saying that the price might be a little bit too high for other teams, and maybe the Raiders or maybe that Max wants to stay and might not request a trade. Like there's a lot of talks going back and forth. Now, adding to that, just this morning, I know you brought this up to me. Albert Breer tweeted the opposite of that, basically saying that he's leaning towards a Maxx Crosby trade happening as soon as this week. He said, I'd lean towards a Maxx Crosby trade happening and maybe this week with teams like Dallas, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, New England, Philadelphia, and the Rams keeping tabs on his availability. All that being said, Joe, I know you've been talking about this. We've been talking about this. I mean, you've been pounding on it more than me. But what are your thoughts after, I guess, these two latest reports?
I talk about it because I'm not scared of talking about it. And I know there's a lot of people in Raider Nation that would be like, you're a fake fan because you want to talk about Maxx Crosby being traded. And we hear about it all the time. And it's like, because it's news. And it's gonna be news until Max comes out and says it. And that's what we've been saying. And until you bite it in the butt and you kill the trade rumors, it's gonna be out there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this. Max does not want to be the bad guy. And Max might want to explore options and might want to see what's out there. And that doesn't mean that he wants to leave, but he's not going to come out and say, trade me. The Raiders have done a very good job at the draft last week of basically telling the league, like, hey, we don't want to trade Maxx Crosby. We want Maxx Crosby here. Kubiak said it like, hey, I'm looking forward to working with Max. I'm looking forward to having him in here. I've had good conversations with him. Spytech has said the same thing. Like, hey, we're not in the business of getting rid of bad players or good players. We want to keep them in the building. Max is an elite player. And basically saying, like, if you want Max, like, you better come out and offer something very good for him. And Max has had his opportunities to shut down rumors, and he hasn't. Now, there was talk before the Jeremy Fowler one on Sunday, where Jeremy Fowler basically said, the Maxx Crosby talks were over, we're quiet. There was talks like Friday, Saturday, that teams around the league were worried or not thinking the Raiders are serious in trading Maxx Crosby because of the price tag. And they're saying that Micah Parsons' price tag for Max is way too high, and they don't want to pay it. And one of the teams that they said that you would probably get the best deal from is the New England Patriots, but they're like, do they really want to give up that much for Max?
Yeah.
And that's the question. And here's the thing. I don't know how much you watched it. I don't know if you watched the CTE dinner, right?
I did.
Where Maxx Crosby went up there and gave a speech for like 3 minutes or whatever he did. It's the Commitment to Excellence dinner. I don't know why they call it CTE, because now CTE is dealing with concussions and stuff. Max's agent was there. Where did he fly in from? The combine. Well, yeah, he probably has other stuff, but yeah, he was up there dealing with Max stuff. And two, Max didn't say Raiders like he normally does. He didn't say anything to stop the trade rumors. And basically, if you listen to the way he spoke, he basically was saying a goodbye speech. And I don't know if it's 100%, but he was like, this is the guy I've trained with. I've been with him my whole career here. And he's like crying on the stage. And it's like, hey, Max, you can shut down everything right now by just saying, I am going to be a Raider for life. I love this place. I'm here. Let's continue to grind and go out there. It was just a normal thank you to everybody here that gave up stuff. And people can get pissed off and they could be like, Max isn't going anywhere. But like I've said this since the beginning, since the end of the offseason. I don't think the trade rumors go away until next week, until the third day of the league year. If Max is still on the Raiders and they give him that guaranteed for 2027, he's staying on the team. I don't think they'll go into training camp and trade him like they did with Khalil Mack. I think the deal has to be done by that day, or there's no deal at all. And you're not going to hear it from Max. I don't think Max will ever come out and say it. But the Raiders have basically forced and pushed everything onto Max now, and it's Max or you're staying.
Yeah, and shout out to Just Raiders, baby. I know that he says that, Max has said it over and over again that he doesn't want to get traded, and he hasn't addressed anything this season. I mean, this offseason, which it could go one of both ways. Like, it could be like that's the thing, is we always put those those options out there, right? Because not saying nothing could mean that he's gonna stay and doesn't want to address anything, and just let the media just talk about it. Let us talk about it over and over again until he stays. Or there's another part of it where it's like, okay, this might mean something. It's coming out even more this year than it has in years prior because there seems to be something there. So whichever way you take it, like I think that there's gonna until it's shut down. I don't think it's shut down just yet. And why not? Wouldn't his team want to at least see uh what 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 options are out there for him for his future and whether or not he wants to go anywhere. Definitely, there's suitors out there, and I named a couple of teams, and coming out of the combine, two things that we learned that you could, I guess, kind of go towards this is one, there's definitely interest for Maxx Crosby out there. The Raiders have let people know that they want to keep him, but they're always going to listen to a lot of different offers. Two, the Raiders have showed interest into a lot of other players as well. Tremaine Edmonds is a name that we talked about, but reports have come out that he's a guy to really think about. Maybe that's part of a trade package out there. So there's always going to be talks about Maxx Crosby, but as of right now, I still don't think that he's going to go anywhere. I know that you might think otherwise or probably the same, but I feel like for me, I don't think that he's going to go anywhere. I think he's just going to end up staying with the Raiders. But I don't think that me saying that means that the Raiders or Max hasn't thought about it,
Yeah.
about leaving, or his team has thought about leaving. I just think that at the end of the day, the Raiders are just going to keep him because they're not going to get what they want. The only thing that really changes that if Max comes out and says that he wants to get traded, then and only then is like, okay, the Raiders will trade him. But I don't think that he's going to come out and say it, and it's just going to come down to what the Raiders get in return for him, which I don't think that they will get that Micah Parsons deal. At least
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think they could still get 2 first-round picks, but to add a player on top of that, I don't think so. I seen some Buffalo people talk about it, like maybe giving up 2 first-round picks and Ed Oliver. I'd really be intrigued in that.
Ooh,
I'd be really intrigued in
that's a
that
good one.
offer because okay, then you get somebody in return, and I really did like Ed Oliver in that draft, the same draft that Max Crosby was in too. So yeah, I mean,
It, yeah,
there's definitely a lot.
I think I said this before, and I'll say it again. I think the Raiders would be stupid to trade Maxx Crosby, and I think the Raiders would also be stupid to not take a Micah Parsons like deal for Maxx Crosby. Shit, I don't want Maxx Crosby to get traded. I love watching Maxx Crosby and everything that he's done on the field and what he represents for the Raiders. And when you go to training camp and you watch Maxx Crosby and the way he commands the respect from his teammate, well, he doesn't command it, but the way that they just go and gravitate towards him and shit, he has his own defensive line and linemen running laps with them at the end of practice. At the end of practice, they're running with them like it's not mandatory. Max just starts doing it and everybody follows them. Like there, but like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire, and you can say whatever you want and say Max doesn't want to, and maybe Max is playing with us because hell, he has a new album coming out, right? A new rap album,
Yeah,
and it's getting publicity for that because people are listening to it, going, "Let's listen to every single word of this album and see if we can find something on it." And we can always find something and twist it to the way we want to say, like, "Hey, Max is staying because he said this," or "Max is leaving because he said this," and whatever you want to change the theory to or the facts to, you can do it. And I'm pretty good at doing that too. It's fun to do sometimes. But if there's something out there, there's something more this offseason than there has been because one, I think it has to do with our front office, and our front office is not treating us like shit this year. Our front office is not trying to lie to us this year. Like they have come out and said, like, hey, we are gonna. It's gonna be a while. Like they're not going out there. We're winning 10 games this year. No, they're telling you it's more likely going to be a rebuild, and they're not. They've had to make a different dramatic stuff. So if you've listened to it, where they've said like we've talked to Max, and it's basically like I said, it's all put it on Max's corner. But do I think the Raiders can get a Micah Parsons like deal? No, but would you take Tremaine Edmonds, a first rounder, and maybe another draft pick?
no,
Would that be something like? Would
I
that be a
think
deal? Like, I don't see the Raiders getting a Micah Parsons like deal, and that's where if I'm John Spytek and if Max hasn't come up to me and said I want to be traded, like I know Max is pissed. Like if I'm John Spytek, I know Max is pissed. I know he's over there pissed off, but he's still in the building. He's still doing his thing. So why would I force a trade if you haven't walked up to me and told me you want to be traded?
Yeah, well, I think like even if like for me like even if we get a Micah Parsons deal, I'm not doing it unless Max wants to leave. But that's me. But I might be crazy, but I feel like I just keep Maxx Crosby. But Micah Parsons type deal like that Ed Oliver one I just told you about would definitely sound enticing, and it's definitely something that you would listen to. But
that's what I'm saying. Like none of this would have. I think John Spytek would have completely shut down and been like, "We're not trading Max."
yeah,
Max
until
is here.
yeah,
If Max hasn't said anything already, if the Raiders weren't getting that feeling that Max doesn't want to be here, I think this would have all been shut down already. John Spytek kind of hinted towards it, but he basically said he does not want Max gone. I think Kubiak said he does not want Max gone, but they didn't completely shut it down and be like, look, we are not trading Maxx Crosby. He is staying here. They just basically said, we're going to answer the phone because that makes you feel that they're getting the feeling that Max, or maybe Max has said it behind closed doors because, like I said, Max is never going to come out. Max does not want to be the bad guy in this situation.
yeah, no. We said it. We said it many times before, and I think it's true. But I hope. Well, I hope by the end of the week or next week we don't.
I think
That Maxx Crosby's still on the team, which that'd be good for us. But
let's get to next week, and I think we're good. I think
yeah, we'll
it all quiets down. I know. I think that's the main date. And hey, you never know. What if a team gets desperate? Because I saw a thing like I don't know if it's true or not. Because you never know around this time everything's smoke. That the Detroit Lions were thinking about doing it. The 2 first-round picks. Fuck it, let's do it. Uh, Teams might get desperate as we get closer to it. But I don't know. Like I like we've talked about it last week that we think when it's all said and done, Max could be pissed off and Max could be mad. But there's a point where Max wants to win and he wants to win with the Raiders and he wants to see the Raiders succeed. And we talked about that. If he leaves and the Raiders start moving forward, that was going to be one of his biggest regrets.
yeah. No, for sure. Raider Rob, he said he got it tatted in blood, bro. So does Josh Jacobs. So does Cleveland Furrows. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be a Raider for life. But definitely, it's definitely there, though. I understand that he wants to be a Raider for life. But like I said, like I think a lot of people just want to know for sure. And I think the people in the building want to know for sure as well. Shout out to James Russell, man. Back at it, man. Oos. With the $100 Oos, the Benjamin Oos. Oh, he said, got to get you on Spotify, but great work, fellas. Hey, you know what? I will. I will start. Yeah, you know what? Joe's been telling me about that too. I need to put these live streams on Spotify, which I will. Trust me, we're getting everything kind of off the ground right now. Last week was the first week that we did almost a full week. But it was on me why we didn't do a full week, almost a full week. But I think 4 days straight wasn't too bad, and you guys have definitely been showing a lot of love. But I will get to that. But I appreciate you. It's even just like I said, nobody ever has to do the super chats, but I do appreciate it a lot, and it helps the channel as well. But appreciate it. I don't even know what else I could say to you to make you happy about giving me that super chat. But again, appreciate it, Oos, and shout out to everybody on here. Alex says that dude gets their wife's name tatted on them, then divorces them, and that's true. You get people get their wives' names or girlfriends' names, and it doesn't always pan out that way. But I I understand that. But that being said, man, shout out to the chat again, man. You guys have been great, man. I love interacting with you guys. I always get surprised that there's people on here on this channel. This is my second channel. But shout out to Raider Deb up in the building, Shavi or Chavi, I don't know how you say it, 87 Nada, Big Raider Rob up in here, just Raiders baby. Of course, James Russell up in the building, man. Everybody that's in here. This next segment that I really want to get into right now is one that I don't know why it muted me, but okay. This segment that we're going to get into right now is something that I'm really excited about. So the combine has just finished. So me and Okay, man, I appreciate it, James. But yeah, so this next segment that I'm gonna do is something that I wanted to do. I think we kind of hinted it off to you guys last week, but right after the combine, we wanted to do a Raiders offseason rebuild if we were the GMs. And Joe has done it, I've done it, and we're gonna go segment by segment, starting from the players that we cut and release, the players that we trade, the players that we resign, going to free agency and sign, and even the NFL draft. So, without further ado, I don't want to waste any time, but we're gonna start with Joe. We're gonna go into the players that you cut and the players that you do re-sign. So,
Yeah, and this model wasn't 100% up to date because there is a guy I would want the Raiders to sign next week, but he wasn't on there, so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
okay.
I think I know who you're talking about. It's probably the same guy I wanted. So I kind of replaced them. So yeah, so we're gonna speak to Joe Spytek in just a little bit. But if you guys have not already, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys haven't already, I don't know, I repeated myself, but hit that like button. Takes a little bit of your time. There's a lot for the channel, but let's get into it. First, we got the cuts and re-signings by Joe Morley.
Yeah, Alex Kappa, easy one. Gino Smith, easy one. Uh, the other two, Albert O and Philip Dorsett, those are cool. The one that people might be questioning is Isaiah Palomao. I think the way that the Raiders have talked to so many safeties and were involved in so many safeties at the NFL draft show that they're going to go in a different route with the secondary. I know, and Isaiah is making 4 million, 4.4. I think is scheduled to make this year. I just think it's an easier cut to get him. And then I'm going to re-sign Daniel Carlson. Doesn't mean that I'm going to have him as my starting kicker come the start of the year, but I am going to re-sign him just to have that option where we have him, and then maybe we get a young rookie or somebody in camp to kick against him and try that. And then Eric Stokes is the guy I am bringing back. Everybody else, I think there's like 21 free agents, 26 free agents. Those are the only two that I'm bringing back. This I don't know how much it saves me, but I think Kappa was 4 million, Palomalo was 4 million, Geno Smith saves me 8 million, and then the other two are probably 1 million each. So probably about $12 million in savings to add to the cap before I even start doing anything.
Okay, well, shout out to Joe, man. The disrespect to my Isaiah Palomalo. I think he cut the wrong safety. But for me, I got, of course, cutting Alex Kappa. I think that was already given. Philip Dorsett, basically almost the same as what Joe had. And Albert O, that was an easy cut, knowing that we could always address. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we can always address. Tight ends and free agency and even the NFL draft. Joshua Miles was right there and Broderick Martin, two names that were just filler that I just easily wanted to cut. Let me see here, but I know you already did, Oos, but I added his cuts and his re-signings together because he didn't re-sign a lot of players. But me, on the other hand, I re-signed a lot of players. So, well, not a lot, a couple more people. I wanted to re-sign Eric Stokes, of course. Everybody wants him. He did a great job last year. Thomas Booker, I'd bring him on. I'll bring him back. Jordan Meredith as well, just some depth on the offensive line. Daniel Carlson, I think that he could do better under a better coaching staff. Landon Roberts, just to add more linebacker depth to that linebacker room. And plus, he wasn't too bad. He wasn't the best, but I don't think that he'd come on. I mean, he wouldn't be that expensive. And then, of course, Devin White, after having such a great year last year, even though a lot of people don't like. I know he wasn't the best. I understand, guys. Before you guys kill me up in the chat, I know he wasn't the best out there. But those are just some of the names that I wouldn't mind bringing back. Okay, okay. Well, it was an honest thing, so that's uh
So it was easier. It wasn't like more of a re-sign. It was just giving them their restricted
okay.
deal. So yeah, and people were like, "Why Meredith?" Because he could play everywhere. He's a versatility, and we're not asking him to be a starter this year. We're asking him to be a
Yeah.
backup
And
in
he's
case
not.
somebody gets
Yeah, he's not bad depth. He's not bad depth at all. If you wouldn't have him, and he could play the guard positions, or maybe center. Who knows? But let's get into the next thing, which was trades. And we both had one trade, but this was Joe Morley's trade right here.
Yeah, trade Tucker to the Steelers for 121. I mean, I just wonder what the Raiders are going to do at the wide receiver position, and I wonder if Kubiak's going to watch the film and say, "Hey, we are moving on from Tucker, or we're going to keep him," and he's going to bring his own guys in. I just don't see Trey as the number one guy, so I think he is open to being traded if the Raiders bring in another wide receiver this offseason. They talked about how much they love Jack Vetch, so why why are we going to keep Trey if he's going to be down in the depth chart? Might as well get something for him.
I'm surprised that you did do the trade, but I think that there is definitely some interest around the league for a guy like Trey Tucker. But I low key wanted to keep him on the I would have low key wanted to keep him on the roster because he'd be that Raheem Shaheed for us in this offense. But that's just my thoughts. But
Oh
I
no,
know,
I think Trey.
yeah,
I think if Trey is used correctly and he could be that deep threat, he could be the guy that
yeah.
you can move around the offense. But if Clint already has guys in mind, then Trey's the odd man out.
Okay, so my dumbass. For my graphic, okay, my graphic says Trey Tucker. But it's supposed to say Gino Smith. I didn't change the name. I went through the graphics so quick that I forgot to change the names, and I just noticed it right now. So think of this right here saying quarterback Gino Smith going to the Arizona Cardinals, and in return we get a 6th round pick for 182. That's what I was offered, and that's what I got. And I easily made that pick, or I easily made that trade because anything we could get for Geno Smith, I'd be down for. And that's definitely a team that would be interested in him as well. So I wouldn't be mad at that. I wouldn't be too mad at that. Do you think that do you think that this is a viable trade, those?
Yeah, I wanted to do a Geno Smith trade, but it wouldn't pop up on mine. Like Geno Smith kept like disappearing.
Oh, for
So
real?
yeah, so I mean, I like it. Do I think you'll get a six straight up? Probably not. You probably have to do a seventh for and it's for the sixth. But I think it's
Yeah.
it's
I do
option
that
is
too.
out there. So right there, your offseason is already better than me because you got 26 more million dollars.
26 million more. Oos. Yeah, yeah. But I don't know if you've seen that there's actually an option on there, like how you can make your own trade. You seen the
Oh,
trade
yeah,
block option?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
that's it.
can. I tried to doing it, but he wasn't showing up. I even typed his name and everything. It just,
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a lot of 6th and 7th round picks, but I thought that would be the most realistic one, so
yeah.
that's what I went with. But going into after cutting some players, re-signing some players, and even trading a player, now we get into free agency, and Maus spent a lot of money. But let me know the play. Well, we'll go over your players, and then you give me your thoughts on it.
Well, because I really think the Raiders are going to be a viable a player in the free agent market. Now, if they're going to go after some of the big name guys, I don't know. So I got them taking Vera Tucker, Teller, and McCullen. Those are just like guys that can be starters and guys that can be backups and guys that are just going to come in and compete. They're not we don't guarantee them a starting role, but we guarantee that they're going to be able to come in here and compete. Now, I don't know if I take Teller because the guy that I want on the free agent market, he wasn't on this model, is Betas from the center from the Washington that was cut this last week. I would like to bring him in and go there. Mofe Mafe is a guy I like that I think he can fit into this defense. Rump is a good backup guy or a solid guy that we could bring in and see what he could do. And I'm bringing in 2 linebackers. This is why I didn't re-sign any linebackers because I'm bringing in 2 linebackers. I'm spending most of our money on the linebacker position because we are going to that 3-4, and we haven't really invested in the linebacker position like we have. So I'm bringing in Devin Lloyd and I'm bringing in Nakobe Dean. And then I'm going with Josh Jobe and Cameron Curl as the defensive backs. So I addressed the offensive line. I addressed the linebacker 3-4 defense and defensive ends and some of the defensive backs. I didn't. One of the positions I did not touch in free agency was wide receiver because, as you know, I like Alec Pierce and I like Romeo Dobbs, but I'm starting to get the sense that the Raiders might miss out on them in free agency.
I respect it too. I like it. It was, and you did put some names on there I didn't really know too much about, but just like if we were to get those two linebackers, that's crazy. That's a crazy offseason so far, but it does solidify a position of need for the Raiders. And knowing that the Raiders are running that 3-4 defense, we definitely gonna need some better linebackers and more depth there. That's why I re-signed Landon Roberts and even Devin White. But I guess we thought the same thing, but in different terms. Now, for me, in free agency, I went after Braden Smith, go solidify that right tackle position right there. Of course, brought in Wyatt Teller because I don't think that he'd cost that much, but he also uh, be a solid guard as a right guard. And I did go spend the big bucks. So I went and got Alec Pierce because I look at him kind of like what Decker is for that Indiana offense. So of course, Decker's not going to be, or it's not Decker, Becker. Did I say Decker or Becker? No, yeah, let me see. See, I don't want to keep talking and I said it wrong. Is it Decker? Or, I think it's Decker. Unless the chat wants to let me know. Uh, oh yeah, Becker. Did I say Becker? Or I said Decker. Okay, Becker. Okay, he's kind of like what Becker is over there in Indiana, and I think that he'd be that deep threat that we need. I like Alex Pierce's game, and then you also get N'Kobe Dane. I'll bring him over here because he gets to reunite with his former coach, and then you bring in Logan Wilson. Wouldn't mind the depth there, just to add more linebackers. Like I said, we both on the same page there. Bringing in cornerback Alante Taylor, somebody that played at the Saints, and then you go get Brian Cook to solidify the safety room, and bring in Marcus Mariota at quarterback just to be the veteran option, that bridge quarterback that we need here. Now, Kirk Cousins wasn't on in this model, so that's why I was like, okay, I'd rather get Kirk Cousins, but Marcus Mariota, I wouldn't mind as well. Yeah, shout out to the chat, man. Becker. Yeah, I'm sorry. See, I don't know why I thought Decker for a bit, but definitely that's my free agency class right there. I think it wouldn't be too bad. I'm spending a lot of money on these guys too, so we wouldn't have that much left over after that. But after free agency is done, those we'll get into your 7 round mock draft, Deuce, and let us know. Let us know how it goes down in the chat, though.
Yeah. Here is my mock draft right here, where I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think the Raiders don't sit at number 36. I think they end up moving up. And if it's in this model, I have them trading up for a wide receiver in Casey Concepcion. Like that is one of my favorite. I like I said, I think he's my second favorite wide receiver in the draft. So I have them moving up, and I use I think the capital that I got for Trey Tucker to move up there for it. I gave up our second and probably a fifth or something. Yeah, so I moved up there, got him, and so that gives us, that's why Trey Tucker could be available because I got the wide receiver that we needed right here. I don't think Overton will be there in the third round, but he was there in the model, so of course I'm going to take him. Curry, Zane Durant. Look, I'm just building that defensive line. This is why I almost cut Adam Butler. Uh, in my mock, but I kept him. Get another defensive back. I get another off, and then right there at the bottom of the draft is where people should look, is where I got Black as the running back to go along with Fernando, so he has another teammate with him, and then I get the tight end slash fullback that we can use because we need a fullback on the roster because we don't have one from Michigan. So these are just a couple. I think Moore's from Indiana too, right? So another, but Zane Durant, you have to be happy with Zane Durant, right? Like I think that's one of our favorite prospects in this whole draft um, that we would have. I traded to 32 with Seattle. So I traded at the last pick of the draft of the first round. So Seattle, I went to 32. Seattle went to 36. So the Seattle dropped a couple spots because Seattle does. It's either Seattle or the Rams. Those are the teams that normally trade back in the at the in the draft at the, around that back area. So I traded with Seattle to move up to get him. Now, if that do I think KC might be go before that? Yeah, probably. So you might have to trade up a little bit earlier, but that's where I was able to trade up to. But this is my whole offseason model was with keeping Maxx Crosby. And so basically my whole thing was what can we do to help Max and maximize Max and bringing in, the linebackers that I brought in free agency and then the edge guys that I'm bringing in, the defensive line guys that I'm bringing in the draft, I think will open up Max even more. So if in the next 10 days Max is gone, my whole thing would be different.
Me, I went into the draft, didn't really trade anything. I kind of went into everything about the same. But of course, first round getting Fernando Mendoza. In the second round at pick 36, I got us Lee Hunter. We need somebody a big body up on that defensive line. So I thought he'd be perfect there. And then going in the third round is always the hardest for me because there's so many different directions that you can go in, and depending on what you get in the third round, that's where you start moving around and seeing where else you could fit in. And there were some wide receivers I could have gotten in the second round as well, but I went with Josiah Trotter, a dog, bro, linebacker. I just want to add more linebackers to this team. Offensive tackle in the fourth round with Juice Shelton, an underrated offensive lineman. Of course, Zane Durant, one of my favorites, was still sitting there in the fourth round. Had to get him. Just add more pieces on that defensive line. In round four, went out and got Aiden Fisher from Indiana, somebody that's played with Fernando as well. And round five, VJ Payne, uh, safety. And then you go get wide receiver. I got wide receiver Eric Rivers in the fifth round as well because I didn't really address the wide receiver position earlier. And then I got TJ Hall in the sixth round. Brought in tight end slash fullback Riley Nowakowski, Indiana as well. See, I'm bringing a lot of players that's played with Fernando, so that's kind of like the theme that I went with while also trying to fill in some needs. And then in round seven, one of my favorite guys, only because he's basically like a cousin to me, Jaden Ott. Had to bring the Oos in, running back that played for the Sooners this year, but back at Cal was Fernando Mendoza's running back. So they do have a relationship there. So they played together. Why not bring them back over here to play together in Vegas? And we do need that running back too. And I think that he can definitely be an RB2 for the Raiders. But those are definitely the guys that I have in my draft so far. So Raider Nation, let me know how you guys think about Joe's offseason and then my offseason as well. I think that however it goes, it's gonna be pretty cool. But we know like it looks good on paper for us right now. But we'll see what the Raiders do, especially starting next week. But yeah, I think it was pretty solid. Those I think it was
No,
pretty
and
solid.
I like your draft because when I sit there at 36 and say I didn't make I wanted to make the trade just to have a little bit of fun. Say you don't make the trade, you and like you said, Lee Hunter sitting there, and we need the nose tackle, we need somebody like that. And then another guy that I've always seen that's sitting there is Christian Miller, the defensive lineman from Clemson.
Yeah, Miller's
And I'm
always
like,
there too. Yep.
those are always one of the guys I always get because there is other wide receivers that I like in the draft, like
Yeah.
Antonio Williams from
Yeah, and he was there in the third round for me too, and I was like,
yeah.
do I go there or do I go get a linebacker?
And of course, the guy that my favorite wide receiver is Skylar Bell, who's always there later on. So I could have gone different, but I wanted to go with the bigger splash
Yeah,
in the first round just for it. And of course, there's other linebackers and other players in here, but um, in my first mock draft, I did have Eric Rivers going to the Raiders, and I think that's somebody like sneaky in the later rounds that you can get. But yeah, there's other players I would want to target, but I think um, I don't know. Like we both have Zane Duran going fourth round. Do I think he's going to still be there by the end of the draft prospect?
probably not. He'd be like a third round
Time?
pick, maybe.
Yeah, he's
Maybe
probably
the
going to go
third,
early.
second, probably second round pick. Look at like Raider Paul right here. He said horrible draft. We need to get Cooper Jr. in the second round. See now his draft stock is going up.
Yeah,
I mean everybody's got an opinion. I think it'd be crazy for the Raiders to go get Cooper Jr. in the second round. Because I'd say that'd be a horrible pick. I'm just kidding. It's not a horrible pick.
you
I'm
know,
just
I because when I traded up for KC, it was like which wide receiver do I want? Because Cooper was on my choice too. But I think he's gaining a lot of interest as well. People falling in love with him, but I think overall Cooper has started to gain more love since the end of the season, where
definitely
KC has had it the whole season, and he was always the top guy. And KC reminds me more of the JSN type of guy than Cooper. And I
yeah.
mean, but at the end of the day, it's all your of what you want, what your favorite thing is, and just because I said wide receiver Casey Concepcion doesn't mean that you can't. We both had the same position, so if you love another wide receiver, as long as it's the wide receiver, we're good, right?
Yeah. That's true. Shout out to Afghati Raider for the $5. He says, "Hey Joe, how wrestle crap was Danhausen's debut?" Oh my gosh, it was. Yeah, I mean, you watched it live, Uso, so I know. Like, what was your reaction? Because I only seen the highlight, and I was like, "Oh damn, Danhausen is here," and then I noticed that it was part of the box or whatever. I was like, "Oh, so is that the reveal?" And then, yeah, I mean, like for me watching it back, I was like, "Dang, I like Danhausen as a character, though. I just think that the way they pulled it off wasn't really."
I posted a video about it because I was like, "What the hell did we just watch?" And I'm not upset about Danhausen coming to the WWE. I'm not upset with them bringing him in. I'm upset with the way you use this storyline, the crate. And I don't know, like people are like, "What were you expecting, Chris Jericho?" I wasn't really expecting Jericho because I don't want Jericho back either. I was just expecting like this is the this is the pay-per-view, the only pay-per-view until WrestleMania. We are in the midst of WrestleMania season, and you're doing stupid shit like this. Like you're bringing Danhausen in, and like you didn't bring him in to do an angle. You didn't bring him in anyway. You just brought him in and dancing. And I think the whole thing pissed me off because it was supposed to be a crate, but you could see the curtain behind it, and you could see it open, and you could see multiple people walking out. It was just, it was just so much stuff involved in it that it just like it was stupid, but it was too stupid. Like, and I
Yeah.
think you set him up because you've already done stupid masked man angles, right? Where multiple masked man,
I don't. Oh, yeah, I don't like that. Is
and then this is like you set up the crate thing, and you go back and forth. Hell, I would have rather you opened up the crate and it be the Andre the Giant statue and going, hey, in 7 weeks we're fighting for the Andre the Battle Royal again. Like,
no, that's true.
something like I would have rather that and be more boring than Danhausen coming. Like, I think, and I think the crowd let you know like how bad it
No,
was. Like,
they were booing the shit out of it. Like
yeah,
I
like
seen a lot of clips, and I was like, bro, like y'all making it even more cornier than it has to be. Like it's crazy that how far down the WWE has come since WrestleMania 40 and that build up. And it just goes to show that, man, like I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's TKO, but Triple H, I don't know, man. Like I think it's so bad that people want Vince McMahon back, and that call, the way they're calling things. But yeah, the whole Danhausen thing, I think that it was a real big letdown for sure. Uh, because
but
it's
why
like
not
what.
do it earlier in the show? Like you did it right before the main event. So you made it, you built it up even more during the pay-per-view. And like you did all that for a mid-card jobber that you're not gonna use, that's gonna feud with R-Truth, or like this would be like one of my favorite wrestlers of all time is Santino Marella, just because he was that comedy relief. But at
Yeah.
least Santino could get in the ring. Danhausen is not gonna be able to do all that. And I'm talking about Santino because look, they got the
Oh
Cobra,
shit, you got
right?
that sock.
Got the Cobra.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just I think both. I think the Royal Rumble was disappointing. I think this last pay per view, Elimination Chamber, was disappointing. The only thing that saved it was that they allowed Randy Orton to win, and it's kind of predictable because of what Randy Orton had to do last year at WrestleMania, um, and fight. He had no opponent, so they just gave him Joe Hendry.
But and that's another thing that irks me too, because my favorite wrestler of all time is Randy Orton, hands down. Randy Orton. I love the fact that he won. But now you go into WrestleMania and you're thinking about it, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, right? And it's like, wouldn't that have been a crazier pop if it was Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, right? And I know that there's still a way where they could make it a fatal four or a triple threat, whether you want to add Jacob Fatu or Cody Rhodes to the whole mix. But a one-on-one Randy Cody Rhodes storyline would have been crazy, like the way they did it. Like I know that they could still mess around
Well,
with it right now.
you have Drew versus Cody this Friday.
Oh, for the championship belt?
Yeah.
I didn't even look at that.
So
That's
after,
crazy.
because Drew came out, interrupted the match, had Randy win, and then uh, the general manager was like, "No, this is bullshit. You keep interrupting. You are going to fight Cody this week for the championship."
Oh, that's so okay. Okay.
Even
Uh,
though there was and that's another part of the storyline. Even though there was a clause in there that if Cody lost, there was no way to fight for the championship anymore. So
Backpedaling us.
that's why the storyline is like
Backpedaling like a motherfucker, bro. That's what
come on.
WWE's been doing all like since WrestleMania 40 has been backpedaling on everything that they've done over and over again. And it's obvious when you see it, and it's like, damn, man, like what they did building up to WrestleMania 40 was just perfect. And then everything after that, like seeing this, and
That's been shit. Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that they're gonna put the belt back on Cody.
Somehow it's gonna be a 3-way match.
You think it's gonna be a 3-way? I don't want a 3-way match, but I feel like you have to have that 1-on-1. But yeah, it could be a 3-way. I think it could be a
But
3-way.
I don't want to see Seth Rollins versus Paul either, Logan Paul either. Like I think that's a horrible.
Yeah, because
match.
it gets tired. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of tired of seeing Seth Rollins make those comebacks, and it's like, okay. And then with the Masked Man angle, bro, like you did it first with Austin Theory, and you know everybody was happy for that, but you haven't done nothing with Austin Theory for us to take him any seriously. You might as well put him back in his trunks and grow his hair out like he used to be. And then Seth Rollins is like, okay, it's Seth Rollins. Where is this going to go? And I know the vision right now has no vision because everybody's damn near injured at this point. So, you know, like the whole direction going into WrestleMania, like I'm going to be there. I'm excited for WrestleMania because it's going to be in my hometown. But I think the build up, the best thing going for it is definitely CM Punk and Roman Reigns. And shit, Roman's not even showing up.
Did you see Roman's tweet yesterday?
I seen it, and I seen the response by CM Punk. Bro, Roman doesn't even have to do much, and that's the most hyped up match right now, and that they're selling off of that. So, I mean, yeah, I guess going back to that question with Afghasi asked, yeah, the Danhausen thing I think was kind of crazy. It was cringe, and especially for fans that don't know who the hell Danhausen is. I would have been even more pissed off because you bring this Timu Sting out here for what? Like I don't understand what his whole thing. I thought he had a match, but he just came out and then bounced, bro.
So I posted a video right when it happened, and I was just like, "What are we watching WWE?" But you know, just basically like, and you did all this for Danhausen,
and that's why I watch the highlights now.
And so people are like, "Oh, look at this mark! Look at this guy!" Like the internet wrestling community already knew who was going to come out, and I get it. You can know that it was going to be Danhausen a week before. You can do all that. But the way that it was portrayed, like everybody said, yeah, it was a shitty entrance, but it's Danhausen. You got to love it. You got to be happy for it. Nobody is mad that Danhausen came. Like, do the angle, but it's just the way they built it up. Like, it was going to be something bigger, and it was going to be something better. And maybe we put that expectations on ourselves, and we did it to ourselves. But I just think it's funny. But here's what I say. And people are like calling me a mark. And I don't know if you know what a mark means in wrestling. It means that you're only like, it's basically what we could say about Raider fans. Like, you only watch Raider games, you don't watch the rest of the NFL. So I only watch WWE and I don't watch everything else. But you can't cater, you can't write a script for WWE that only goes for 20% of your fan base. If only 20% of your fan base watches everybody, watches AEW, watches TNA, watches Nexus, and then the rest of the 80% is your casual tune in the first day, and this is the first day that they watch WWE, and some guy dressed as a vampire comes out dancing like that.
Dressed as a vampire.
You know what I mean? Like, and you do some like Broadway show and then just disappears like that. You're gonna be like, what the fuck? Because this is a WWE pay-per-view. This is a premium live event.
Right before WrestleMania.
If this was SmackDown or Raw, we wouldn't be making a big deal about it. This is a PLE that you're charging people $40 a month for the ESPN app or whatever it is to watch this crap, and that's what you pull in. You can't. Your script has to be written for day one people to be able to watch. If I tune in today, I'm going to kind of understand what's going on, and that's the reality of it. You can't. That's what this was for. This was because WWE thought Danhausen was so known that it was going to hit, and it failed.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why a lot of people are expecting Chris Jericho, and that's why you see the downfall of WWE right now, especially going into WrestleMania. 42. It's sad to say, even AJ Styles even said it, like, like WrestleMania used to be this big thing. Now it doesn't feel that big. It sucks because it's in the last two, like last year and now this year in Vegas, it doesn't feel like that big of a show to a lot of people, and you see sales going down because you basically priced out the diehard fans now. So it's gonna be a lot going into that. I know we're both big wrestling fans, but yeah, Afkasi asked if we're going. I'm going. I think we're both gonna be there either way with Fitz if Fitz shows up. But yeah, definitely gonna be. We'll be there, win or lose. But yeah. But that being said, I know what we're going on with the WWE thing, and I know a lot of you guys probably don't give a crap about it. But you know, definitely went over a lot of things today with the combine. I'm excited to see what happens, especially going into next week. And of course, I hope that the Maxx Crosby thing gets shut down pretty soon. But until then, man, of course, like always, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and that notification icon button. You guys can find me at Simone Radio on all social media platforms, and you could always find Joe Morley as well at the Joe Morley. Until the next one, we are out of here.